ऐसे उत्तम गति श्री गुरु चरणे
ऐसे उत्तम gati. Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. Good morning, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Haribo, good morning.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to the assembled devotees. As you can see, I'm in a different studio today. It's quite interesting. I was talking to Vinod earlier to make sure that my internet connection and audio were sufficient for today's reading and discussion of Bhagavad-gītā As It Is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And I wanted to comment to all of us today on, before we enter into the readings of the diaries of Srila Prabhupada, which we're currently at the end of them, how valuable it is to study the early years of Srila Prabhupada thoroughly for all of his disciples. And I think that the people that have been participating in our programs are realizing it, because this is the basis, the foundation of how you build a movement, is through the example and instructions of the pure devotee spiritual master. This is something that's being ignored by many people that were members of this movement in the early years. And after Prabhupada's demise, they simply got away from the whole thing and started to concoct their own methodology of what they thought should be the preaching method moving into the future. I commonly refer back to this statement by one of the ISKCON gurus. We have to develop PPB, this methodology, post-Prabhupada books. Now, the person that wrote that Vyas Puja, it was back in 2002. It's not a current document, but it's still reflective of the state of consciousness of the people from that mission up to that point in time, from 1977 to 2002. But it's interesting to note, everyone, that it's got worse now than it did then. This is a cancer that's corrupting the body of ISKCON because of its deviation from Srila Prabhupada's early years and how he wanted this movement to be spread. So we encourage all of our members here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society, to carefully study along with us in our weekly classes, carefully study thoroughly all of Prabhupada's directions from his early years of spreading Krishna consciousness, because then you'll understand how our guru wanted this movement to be spread. This is not some kind of a mental concoction by some ambitious people who took a position of leadership and misdirected people after Prabhupada's demise to establish themselves as zonal acharyas. Now, some of you may say, well, that's somewhat harsh, but excuse me, I'm so sorry for that. that may be somewhat harsh, but the fact of the matter is that myself and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and many of the other Prabhupada disciples that were alive when Srila Prabhupada was alive and we were serving him have practical experience of this corruption entering into the society and now proliferating into the state of confusion that it is in the year 2023. This is not fault finding. We are not interested in that. And I sent a message to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu last night of some of these godbrothers of ours preaching in a very sort of obscure way, like Keith Ham used to, Kirtananda. I called him a snake with a split tongue. It was very insidious how he would direct people that were listening to him and then turning them against all of us. It was quite corrupt. Now, some of you may say, well, how do you know? How do we know? We've been there. We've got the T-shirt. We know how this went down. We still do. And that is what we're doing with these classes, is trying to change the course of history back to the Prabhupada-focused mission that we were all trained in. And Yaśoda, even from 1967, we were all trained in through the personal association and the Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada, which is much more important, I would say, and I think all of us will agree, than Vapu. The Vapu association is very difficult because there is a tendency for familiarity. Prabhupada knew that, and a lot of these people, when we've been reading these conversations here in the diary, you can see how familiar some of these people were, like a Roma. Well, they were written here, so it's like a Romeshwar or a Tamal. Very familiar, and not very smart, by the way, by their dialogue with him. You know, you have to know what to do when you're around a great person. And the most important thing that you should do is keep quiet. Don't talk. I always remind us of when I was driving Prabhupada from Toronto to Buffalo. I had the opportunity to drive him for 4 days all over to morning walks and meetings, and then finally I had to drive him to Buffalo in one car that we borrowed from a guy, Wayne Fishley. So at any rate, we drove there. There was Prabhupada and two other godbrothers, Brahmananda and I think Hari Sori and myself. And we did not say one word in the car. Prabhupada chanted and we just carried on. And I was afraid to speak. I thought, oh my God, if I say something stupid, I'm going to get chastised. I'm going to keep quiet. There's nothing to say in front of the pure devotee. But these so-called confidential members of his entourage back then had no problem speaking up and talking stupid, I say, in front of him. And here's an example. This is an excerpt from a room conversation with Ram Jethmalani, Member of Parliament, on April 16th, 1977 in Bombay. Prabhupada, I was cooking in my hands. For one man sitting, I was cooking not less than for 10 to 15 men. Tamal Krishna. What was the idea? How about prasadam distribution? Prabhupada, the idea is everyone wanted some food prepared by me. They wanted my preparation. All right, do it. Tamal Krishna. All the devotees in the early days? Prabhupada, no. Not devotees. when I was doing here and there, like Dr. Mishra's place. So it's very clear that Prabhupada was cooking prasadam for the benefit of other people. And he's asking for the devotees, Tamal Krishna. He was very fond of your cooking, Prabhupada. He got a good cook without paying. Very interesting. And I had no other alternative. I liked it. Tamal Krishna. Was he paying for the foodstuffs? Prabhupada, oh yes, he was giving his place and foodstuff, and I was preparing and eating and giving them. I will not pay him. No, everything he was paying. Now it's very interesting. I'm going to make a quick comment here. I think the person that was talking to him forgot or didn't know what it meant to be a sannyasi in the total renounced order of life. Prabhupada, remember, had taken the order of sannyas, so it was his job to go door to door and distribute prasadam and to cook and serve like that. And it was the responsibility of grihastas like Dr. Mishra to give donations to the pure devotee. Very appropriate and such a beautiful thing. We're going to move forward here. I'm just going to read quickly the meetings, the minutes of the first meeting of the trustees of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, held at 26 2nd Avenue on August 8th, 1966 at 9:30 p.m. Have we got that, Vinkat? Oh, there we are. Here's the minutes. So there's a quorum. See that? So they have a full quorum here. Carl Jurgens, Raphael Balsama, Bob Lefkowitz, James Green, Raymond Morest are the trustees. And A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and Stanley Zier are members in good standing. So Prabhupada wasn't even a trustee. Interesting. Very interesting. We're organizing a corporation now, so it's very insightful for us to know how Prabhupada handled it in the early days. Item 1, some powers of the trustees. The members of trustees set at 9. B, the trustees may call a meeting of the society's general membership if they so choose by majority vote. Item 2, reading of the Constitution. The Constitution for the Society, drawn up and read by Carl Jurgens, is accepted unanimously by all present. The Constitution is thereby adopted. And we'll read that in the future for everybody. Item 3, more powers of the trustees. A meeting of 3 trustees is declared to constitute a quorum with full authority. And finally, item 4, meeting adjourned. Next meeting tentatively scheduled for 2 weeks from this date in order to have the benefit of the attendance of all the trustees to work on the rules and regulations. So, very interesting, very enlivening to read about Prabhupada's early days and how he was spreading the Sankirtan movement here in North America and around the world. We'll move forward now with the Kirtan, Bhajan by Srila Prabhupada of Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, and then we'll have the discussion and reading from California with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amaspat Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Sattare Srismad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर समझ ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर समझ थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then forward to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do every Saturday, we will read the introductory verses that have been given by Srila Prabhupada in the introduction to the Bhagavad-gītā. Everyone is welcome to either hear them or participate. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just a quick note before we start. This week, somebody asked me the question, why is it that we are reading a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the beginning of the Bhagavad-gītā class? The Bhagavad-gītā originally is from the Mahabharata. It was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the middle of the two armies, just before the war at Kurukshetra. And in the Mahabharata itself, in the beginning, that same verse, which is found in the Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text number 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the invocation of paying respects to Lord Narayana, Narayana Rishi, the goddess of learning, and to Vyasadeva is also given. So it is just a matter of proper form to show the respects. Today we'll be reading from chapter 9, text number 33 and 34, all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 33. Kim punara brahmanaha punya Bhakta Raja Rishayastata Anityam Asukam Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. Kim, how much? Punaha, again. Brahmanaha, brahmanas. Punyaha, righteous. Bhaktaha, devotees. Raja Rishayaha, saintly kings. Tata, also. Anityam, temporary. Asukam, sorrowful. Lokam, planets. Imam, this. Prapya, gaining. Bhajasva, are engaged in loving service. Mam, unto me. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. How much greater then are the brahmanas, the righteous, the devotees and saintly kings who in this temporary miserable world engage in loving service unto me. Purport. In this material world, there are classifications of people, but after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, Anityam Asukam Lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some of the philosophers, especially the minor philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from Bhagavad-gītā that the world is not false. It is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. Text number 34. Madmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mameveshyasi yuktvaevam atmanam matparayanaha matmanaha, always thinking of me. Bhava, become. Mat, my. Bhaktaha, devotee. Mat, my. Yaji, worshipper. Mam, unto me. Namaskuru, offer obeisances. Mam, unto me. Eva, completely. Ishyasi, come. Yuktva evam, being absorbed. Atmanam, your soul. Matparayana, devoted to me. Translation. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes, unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader through that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there's no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya, comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi Lila, verses 41-48. Deha dehi vibedoyam nishvare vidyate kvachit, which means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because they do not know this science of Krishna, the commentators hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading the people. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continually. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Otherwise, understanding Krishna from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the internal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme. He should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer into the Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. In the 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad-gītā, pure devotional service to the Lord has been explained, apart from the yoga of knowledge and mystic yoga or fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma-jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There's a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall down from this standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be the perfect saintly person. His accidental, non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to this process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-gītā in the matter of the most confidential knowledge. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances to our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with a torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshata Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here we have a very important instruction from Lord Krishna describing the impermanence of the material world. Later on in the Bhagavad-gītā, we will see how Lord Krishna describes intelligence as the ability to understand the very difficult position, the very dangerous position of birth, death, old age, and disease. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. Dukkha dosha means the suffering, the fault of suffering in this world. Anudarshanam means be able to see, to be able to understand. But in this material world, people are foolish. They think that this temporary place is a very happy place. They're trying to make arrangements to live here eternally, not realizing that this is impermanent. We see here Krishna is describing Anityam Ashukam Lokam, text number 33. Prabhupada explained in the word for word, Asukam, sorrowful, temporary sorrowful planets. This is very important. It is also described in other places in the Bhagavad-gītā Dukhalayam asashvatam, that this world that we are in is full of miseries and is very temporary. Same principle. Same principle. But yet we see that every single day, people are strutting very hard to try to be happy in this world. Are they really happy? Permanently happy? Or there is some happiness, some flickering happiness. One of the great Vaishnava-acharyas has written that the happiness in this material world is just like a drop of water in the desert. It's like if a man goes in the desert, it is very hot. Here in California, they have a place in Southeast California called Death Valley. They claim that this place has the highest recorded temperatures on the planet, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, many years back. Pretty warm, pretty warm. So if somebody goes in the desert, unless he brings sufficient water, it will be very difficult. So the Vaishnava-acharya compares that the happiness in this material world is just like getting a drop of water in a desert. What will a drop of water do? It will not quench the thirst. It will not quench the thirst. That is why we see in the Vedanta Sutra, Vyasadeva has given Anandamayo Bhyasat, that to engage in spiritual activities under the guidance of a bona fide acharya, this will bring actual ananda, actual happiness. How do we do that? We see in text number 34, Krishna is giving the nice explanation. Engage your mind, always in thinking of me. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. But we see in the purport that Prabhupada is giving a warning. He's giving a warning, just like sometimes if you buy an electrical appliance, they will give you a manual, an instruction manual. Part of that extra instruction manual, they will tell you, don't do this, don't do that. Be very careful. So Prabhupada here is giving some nice warnings about misleading commentators. Impersonalists, karmis, jnanis, yogis will often interpret various verses of Bhagavad-gītā, misinterpret. That is why here, what Prabhupada has done in text number 34, first paragraph, towards the end, he quotes from his Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he said, Dehadihi vibedo yam nishvare vidyate kvachit, which means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because they do not know the science of Krishna, the commentators hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading the people. Now, this is a very important point, because as devotees, one of the first things we learn is who is Krishna? Who is this person? When I first came to the temple in Montreal, Canada, in 1969, I remember meeting a devotee named Bharadwaj and his wife Rukmini. And I asked him, who is Krishna? And he gave exactly the same answer that he had heard from Prabhupada, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, this is a very important point because there are many people who do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Godhead. They think that Krishna is a manifestation of the impersonal Brahman, or that Krishna is an ordinary person. I've often related this story how one follower of a Mayavadi philosopher came to visit Srila Prabhupada, and he very quickly started to argue with Srila Prabhupada. This was in Bombay, India, in December of 1972. He started to argue, claiming that the word Krishna means black. Krishna claims from a black tribe. Prabhupada immediately became angry and chastised him. He says, "You do not know who is Krishna." Prabhupada said, "Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless you understand who is Krishna, you have no right to interpret his activities. You will not understand his activities." If you listen to Prabhupada's lectures, so many times Srila Prabhupada is explaining who is Krishna, who is Bhagavan. We see in Bhagavad-gītā, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. In the Sri Upanishad, Prabhupada is given a very detailed explanation of the meaning of the word Bhagavan, one who is full of all opulences, all wealth, all beauty, all fame, all renunciation, all opulences. Everyone in this material world is hankering for wealth. They're trying to make themselves beautiful. Just like the other day, I had to go down the mountain to Sonora. Although it is a small town, only 3,500 people, they have several of these beauty parlors where ladies can get themselves their hair done, their makeup and everything. And they do good business because everybody is trying to do this. This week, I had to go to the hospital to take care of a relative who was having some medical issues. And I noticed when I came there, there was a gentleman that was coming out, elderly gentleman. He was walking very slowly, limping, grimacing, like you could tell that he was not happy. He was not enjoying. He was experiencing great pain, dukkhalayam, the effect of old age, the effect of disease. Last year, I had to go to the same hospital for something. I broke my foot. And when I came in the hallway, there was an elderly woman who was totally frantic, screaming, "Oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And the nurse was trying to tell her, "You will not die, not this time. You will be okay." Why? Why are people in anxiety? Why do they rush to the doctor? Why do they rush to the clinic? Why do they rush to the hospital as soon as there's a problem? Because it is the natural position of every living entity to avoid suffering. But in this world, you can't avoid it. I'm sure just like our friend Vijay Pandit Prabhu in Gopika in Italy, I'm sure they have prisons there. They have jail there. You think people are very happy to go there? Are they happy if they have to go to jail? They have criminals in every country in the world. The government provides a jail because the government knows there will always be a class of men that will disobey the laws of the government. Always. And what does that do? They put him in jail. They get convicted and get put in jail. But then the suffering comes. Whether one is in jail or not, the material jail, the whole material world is a jail. There's an old lecture from Srila Prabhupada in the 1950s, Old Back to Godhead, where Prabhupada was describing the Durga as a trident. The trident is a representation of the three modes of material nature: Sattva gun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. And the living entities in this world who have disobeyed Krishna's instruction, they're put under the care and supervision of Durga, the material energy, and she punishes the living entities. That's why we see in Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains, Karanam guna sangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. That the reason why there is suffering, people sometimes accuse God, or if there is a God, why is there so much suffering? Why is there an earthquake? Why is there a famine? Why is there a forest fire? Why is there a war? Why? Karanam guna sangasya. Because of association with the modes of nature. Devotees are familiar with Prabhupada's warning that if you kill animals, you kill cows and so many animals, the karma that is generated is often reflected with wars, with famine, with suffering, with pestilence, with conflict. This is Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And in Kali Yuga, it is very difficult for people to understand that they're not the body. It is not a difficult thing to understand if one is a little intelligent and hears from bona fide sources. We see in the Bhagavad-gītā, as soon as Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, what did Krishna tell him? Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dirastatra namuhyati. He describes to Arjuna how you are not the body. You are eternal spiritual soul. Don't be disturbed by this material energy. You are changing. The body will change from youth to boyhood to old age. And then at the end, tata dihantara praptir, one will get another body according to the mental condition. But because we are attached to this mode of passion and ignorance, people have to take a body again and again. Very troublesome situation. How to escape? That is the solution given here by Krishna. Manmana bhava madbhakto. The last line Krishna says, Atmanam matparayanaha. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Now this is a very important point, because people ask, why there is suffering? How to get out of suffering? This is the formula given by Krishna. This is the formula given by Krishna. It is not a difficult process, and this is the mercy of Krishna's pure devotee. The pure devotee, topmost Mahabhagavata, gives knowledge of Krishna, the name of Krishna, explain the activities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, the process of devotion to Krishna. There is a song by Narottam Das Thakur. He explains, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite par, tomara shakati ache. That you have Krishna, you have the power to give Krishna. Please kindly give Krishna to me. This is how we get freed from the suffering in this world. Take shelter of the name of Krishna. This is very important. Very important. I was just listening to a lecture yesterday where Srila Prabhupada, you make Krishna your friend, make Krishna your father, your mother, your lover, accept Krishna, and you will get the greatest benefit. Greatest benefit. We see in the Shikshastakam by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our Lord Chaitanya describes Anandam Buddhivardhanam, that this chanting of the Maha Mantra, the name of Krishna, it will increase the ocean of transcendental bliss. Well, somebody said, well, why is that? Because the name of Krishna is non-different than the person Krishna. This is what Prabhupada is criticizing in this verse in the beginning. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. So this is a very important. If we hear from bona fide sources, we will understand the proper conclusion. Then naturally, if one tries to preach, it will be easy. But if one concocts all kinds of nonsense ideas, does not hear properly, does not chant properly, then there will be deviated ideas. That is why Prabhupada many times would quote one verse from the Padma Purana, where he explains that the name of Krishna, Abhinatvam Nama Naminaha, Abhinam, there's no difference between the name of Krishna and the person Krishna, Nami. Very important point. Because the Mayavadis, they make a difference. They do not understand the nature of Krishna. Very, very important. This is the blessing of the pure devotee, that he is able to deliver Krishna. He delivers the knowledge of Krishna. He has delivered the process to follow Krishna. If we follow that, then this is the key to get free from all miseries, all problems, and the key to the Anandam Buddhivardhanam. So we will let some other people speak. My voice is a little troublesome today. Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your wonderful explanation of these verses, because it is important for us to become cured of the material disease. It's like a coma. You're unconscious of reality due to the bitten by the snake of Maya. It's a unfortunate situation that 99% of the people are in. Actually, it's a very rare soul, everyone that's interested in spiritual life. Very rare. Prabhupada explains that in Sri Upanishad, that it is not commonplace. Although the knowledge is available, people, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, they're only interested in living the dream. This is an expression that's common nowadays. Oh, you're going to live the dream. Now it means, for the karmi, it means you're going to have a big house. You have a dream to have a big house, so you get a big house. You're going to get a Rolls Royce car. You're going to have designer clothes. You're going to be able to take vacations. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank account. You're going to have a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband, living the dream. But really, what is it? The dream is, it's not real. This material world is an illusion. And people are living in this illusion because they are bewildered by material desires. I wanted to just quickly read this section from the Raja Vidya, the King of Knowledge, chapter 2. I don't know if Venkat Bhatta can find this, but Yudhisthira Maharaj was asked, what is the most wonderful thing in the world? He replied, the most wonderful thing is that every day, every moment, people are dying. And yet everyone thinks that death will not come to him or her. Men, every minute and every second experience, the living entities are going to the temple of death. Men, insects, animals, birds, everyone is going. The world is therefore called Mrityu Loka, the planet of death. Every day there are obituaries, and if we bother to go to the cemetery or crematorium grounds, we can validate them. Yet everyone is thinking somehow or other I'll live. Everyone is subject to the law of death, yet no one takes it seriously. This is illusion. Thinking we will live forever, we go on doing whatever we like, feeling that we will never be held responsible. This is a very risky life, and it is the densest part of illusion. We should become very serious and understand that death is waiting. We have heard the expression, as sure as death. This means that in this world is the most certain thing. No one can avoid it. When death comes, no longer will our puffed up philosophy or advanced degrees help us. At that time, our stout and strong body and our intelligence, which don't care for anything, are vanquished. At that time, the fragmental portion, the jivatma, comes under the dictation of material nature, and prakriti nature gives us the type of body for which we are fit. If we want to take this risk, we can avoid Krishna. If we don't want to take it, Krishna will come to help us. So this is Prabhupada explaining that Krishna is with his devotee. I just wanted to mention briefly in terms of your trip to the hospital, Yaśodā, which I found interesting. When you go to the hospital, one thing they say to you, and all of us know that because we've all been to the hospital. Here in Canada, we have what's called OHIP. And it means that you don't pay for anything when you go to the hospital here. In fact, they tell you when you leave for the hospital, they say, just bring one thing to the hospital. Vijaya Pandit, they tell you to bring your OHIP card, not your driver's license, not money. No other proof do you need, just a legal OHIP card. That's all they want you to bring to the hospital. So someone drives you to the hospital, you bring no valuables, zero. They're not interested in how much money you have. They don't care what your name is. Are they going to make a discrimination between this person and that person? No. You know what you are, Vijaya Pandit? You're a number. That's it. You're simply a number. And they call your number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, please. Okay, go in here, get on this table, and we'll prepare you for this surgery. You may die, but you may live. Let's see. So the material world is a very precarious place. Unfortunately, all of us are in this illusion. As Prabhupada has explained here, we think, oh, everyone is dying, but I won't die. This is stupidity, absolute stupidity. And this is what we're afflicted with. It's a big problem. And very few people, everyone, are serious about spiritual life. Very, very stupid. And some people, they engage in and spiritual life for material benefit, not for spiritual emancipation. And that is super stupid. So this material world is the training grounds for all of us to get out, not stay here. And Prabhupada told us, just use this one lifetime. Everything that you have, everything that you do, use it in Krishna's service, and Krishna will come and protect you at the time of death. And our spiritual master will bless us, and we may get a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
Very important point. I was going to read a few paragraphs from a lecture that Prabhupada gave on that same verse. This was in New York on December 26, 1966. December 26, 1966. And the title of this lecture is Who is Crazy? Prabhupada is talking about this verse from Bhagavad-gītā. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mameveshyasi yuktvevam atmanam matparayanaha. This shloka, this verse, we have already finished. The conclusion of the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, that the Lord says that manmana bhava madbhaktaha, just always think of me, just become my devotee, and if you want to worship, just worship me. Devotee. Anyone in the rear would like to move up? You can hear much better, could hear much better. Prabhupada, yes, please. Devotee, come forward. Prabhupada, come forward, yes. And this is the process of devotional service. It is not very difficult. Everyone can execute. To think of God, to offer some obeisances to God, and to serve something, to render some service unto him, and just to become a party of God, that just like we identify, everyone identifies to some party, either politically, socially, or religiously, economically. We've got so many fields of activity, but in each and every field, we've got a party feeling. You cannot avoid that. In political field, we've got so many parties. Even in your own country, even there are Democratic Party or Conservative Party and this party, that party. Worldwide is also the Capitalistic Party, the Communistic Party. In our country also, there is Congress Party. So party is already there. Socially also, we are Christian, I am Jew, I am Hindu. Of course, this is religiously. And socially also, in India, there is very social party. So you cannot avoid this partyism. All ladies and gentlemen who are present here, I ask you, do you not belong to any party? Can you deny that I don't belong to any party? Everyone belongs to some party. Now, spiritualism means that we should identify ourselves as God's party. That's all. That is spiritualism. They ask so many things that why the materialists are called crazy by the spiritualists. That is also partyism. These materialists also say to the spiritualists, they are crazy. Just like we have formed some society of Krishna consciousness. And those who do not like it, they say we are crazy fellows. We are assembly of crazy fellows. And similarly, we call others who do not associate with us, they are crazy fellows. So we have written pamphlet, booklet, who is crazy. Now, how to decide? You are thinking the Swamiji and the party, they are crazy. And we are thinking those who are materially engaged. Hold on, I lost they're crazy. Now, how to decide it? Can you suggest any way how to decide it? Who is crazy? Who will decide it? Everyone, two parties. When there is something disagreement, the two parties will say that you are in wrong. The other party will say you are. Now, who will decide it? That who is wrong? Can you suggest any one of you who'll decide? The world is going on in partyism, and each opposite party is thinking that the other party is crazy. Now, who will decide who is actually crazy? The actual. Then you have come to the point of reason. Who is crazy? Now, just see. Take any common man, not yourself, not myself, any common man. If you ask him that what you are, he'll say his conception is I am this body. Everyone will say, he'll give you some description. I'm Christian, I'm Hindu, I'm Mr. such and such, I am Mrs. such and such, everything. Whatever he or she will say, that is all due to this body. All due to this body. Everyone. When you say you're American, that means this is the body. Because by accident, by something, by some reason, you were born in this land of America. That is also another artificial name. The land is neither America nor India. The land is land. But we give some designation. This is America. We make some boundary. This is United States of America. This is Canada. This is Europe. This is Asia. This is India. So this is our name. But actually, was there any history that the land is American, or the land, say, 400 years before or 500 years before, was this land was known as America? You have named it America. Say some thousands of years before, was this the continent which is known as, Europe? Can you trace out history that it was known as Europe? They're all designations. Just like we can say from a historical point of view of Vedic literature, this whole world was known as Ilavrita Varsha. Ilavrita Varsha. And later on, since the reign of one great king, emperor, his name was Bharata. He changed the name into his own name, Bharata Varsha. So this whole planet was known Bharata Varsha. Then as the days go on, some part of this world, separated from the original Bharata Varsha, and it was called Europe or some other place. Just like you've got practical experience even in this age that India, say about 20 years before, the area of India was including Burma, Ceylon, and the modern Pakistan and everything. Now it is separated. Now they're calling this is Pakistan. Somebody's calling there is Ceylon. So this process is going on. Actually, the land is neither Bharatvarsha, nor Asia, nor America, nor India. But we give this name. With the change of time, with the change of influence, they're all designations. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada nicely explains the temporary nature of this material world. Hare Krishna.
Very interesting to see the material world according to Prabhupada's teachings. Actually, before we bring on Dharma Bhavana and Janas Priya and Rupa Manjari and different devotees to speak this morning, I wanted to say, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that in Toronto, when I was president of Toronto, actually it was before I became the president, I think Uddhama Shloka Prabhu, my godbrother, was a president of Toronto. We had a devotee kidnapped from the temple in 1974 by a group called COMA, the Council on Mind Abuse, COMA. So they were accusing us of brainwashing people. Very interesting. So the point that Prabhupada was making, who is crazy? Prabhupada's saying, you're crazy, and they were charging us with being crazy. And even worse, they were accusing us of brainwashing. The Attorney General of Ontario came to my office when I was president, when I became the president, and tried to interview me on these facts that I was brainwashing people. Very interesting. I said, well, how am I brainwashing them? He said, well, you don't let them eat meat. So that's called food deprivation. You don't let them sleep enough. They have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to these chanting sessions. That's called sleep deprivation. You get them to repeat the same words over and over again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This is mind control. Very interesting, eh? So getting up early, which most successful people do anyway, as we all know, is manipulation of a person, sleep deprivation, food deprivation, a constant repetition of the holy names repeated over and over again, submission to a charismatic leader. You're brainwashed. I go, okay, thank you very much. I said, try to prove it. And I gave him the Gita. And I said, go read this. And then you come back and tell me that this philosophy of Krishna consciousness is brainwashing, and you prove it in court, and I'll accept. He never returned, never came back. That's what Prabhupada told us. Just read the Gita. Read the Gita into the court in New York State. Demand that we read the scripture into the court because they're accusing us of brainwashing. These people in this modern world are insane. Be convinced of it, Prabhus. This is not a joke. We're in a very difficult situation, and at any moment, nuclear war can come. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. How are you this morning? Check your microphone, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking, we talked about a lot of different things in our class today, mostly about different personalities who either academically try to explain Bhagavad-gītā, and they separate Krishna from his personality, Krishna from his mind, and in so many ways, without having transcendental knowledge, they mislead the other readers. So on these lines, I was just thinking there was a word mentioned, pure devotee. We speak about pure devotee a lot, and sometimes the meaning comes to be where someone is completely purified, 100% free of the modes of material nature, completely Krishna conscious. And sometimes the word seems to mean somebody who's just on the path, who may not be perfect in Krishna consciousness, but who was attempting to follow all the rules and regulations and is becoming Krishna conscious. So I was just thinking, could somebody comment upon this? What does that mean today when the word pure devotee was mentioned in this verse?
I was just reading, Prabhu, in Sri Upanishad about the distinction between the Kanishta-Ācārya, Madhyama-Ācārya, and Uttama-Ācārya. So there is a stage, Uttama-Ācārya, of pure devotional service, unaffected by the material world. And this is the business of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, who is on the Uttama platform. The Madhyama-Ācārya should explain the philosophy according to other people under the strict guidance of the Uttama-Ācārya. In other words, the Madhyama-Ācārya cannot invent a process any different than the process given from his spiritual master. And this is the situation. Some people are claiming to be pure devotees, but they're not purely representing Prabhupada's teachings. And this is the Maya that's entered into his society. They're changing the books. They're changing the philosophy. They're changing the process, the chanting, the mantras, the way to offer prasadam. The way that you become pure in your preaching is to follow in the footsteps of the pure devotee. And there is one pure devotee that we know of, is Srila Prabhupada. That's as simple as it is. And if you read the books carefully, like we all do in our own sadhana programs, we see the miracle that's there in Prabhupada's Vani incarnation. Yaśodā, if you'd like to comment further.
Well, this is very important because sometimes devotees will say, well, you guys over here in this program, you keep repeating yourself. It's very repetitive. Well, where do we get these ideas that you're not the body? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti is the process of understanding Krishna. Where do we get these ideas from? Because Prabhupada was repeating this every single day. Study Prabhupada's lectures, study Prabhupada's books. He comes back so many times again. Krishna himself. Look, we just discussed today, Anityam Ashukam Lokam, in one verse. Later on in Bhagavad-gītā, we will see Krishna says, Dukkhalayam Shashvatam. The same principle, this material world is a place of difficulty. It's a place of misery. And it's temporary. So Krishna was just repeating himself? Well, sometimes repeating for conditioned souls in the material world, it's important to repeat so that it penetrates to the very thick skull, influenced by the modes of nature, so he can be elevated as an understanding. It's actually, I found it very interesting what you brought about the Attorney General, of somebody who thinks it was been trained in law and logic and reason and how to understand facts. And he's launching so many outlandish allegations, none of which he can prove. He's just repeating the nonsense that he has heard from some people on the coma, the Council on Mind Abuse. Because like Prabhupada said in that situation in New York when they had that lawsuit in 1976, yes, we're trying to wash your brain from all these sinful activities. That is the reason people suffer in this world, because of addiction and entanglement with all these sinful activities. Drinking, meat eating, illicit sex. So many problems are created with this, but they cannot see. How much money does the government of Ontario spend every year trying to rehabilitate people who drink, take drugs? How about people, a teenager that become pregnant and they go beg from the government? Like Prabhupada one time was having an argument. Some lady says, oh, you know, women liberation, feminism. Prabhupada says, when you become pregnant and the father leaves, you go to the government and beg for them to give you money. Is that a very good proposition that the government now has to maintain you? The father is gone, whatever he's done, and you have to maintain the child. You have to beg from the government. So, but these people, they don't think. They don't think, because this is the effect of the mode of passion and ignorance. It generates more problems. It's like a very quick satisfaction of the senses, and then there's problem. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a description of two fundamental principles called Shreyas and Preyas. One point is activities which ultimately will lead to freedom, to liberation. Another form of activities, they lead to bondage and entanglement. And this is what Prabhupada was explaining, who is crazy. That's why they don't understand. They're thinking in terms that there should be unlimited sense gratification. Oh, does that really work? Why do you send kids to school? Let them just play all day and never send them to school. Why? Because you know they have to be educated so they can have a better chance at a better future. So those people that say that you Hare Krishnas, you get up early. Well, for one thing, it's good for health. There's an old saying Prabhupada used to often say, early to bed, early to rise makes a young man healthy and wise. And also in India one time, in Calcutta, we had a life member, Mr. Patel. And Mr. Patel would often invite me to his house, and we would discuss different things about India and things. And one time, one of Mr. Patel's employees came over. He says, do you know why it's important to get up during Brahma Muhurta and do chanting? Because at this time of the day, the human body is able to inhale from both nostrils. It is a special, an hour and 46 minutes before the sun rises. Brahma Muhurta is the most auspicious time of the day for yoga practice, meditation, chanting, and everything. But I'm sure the Attorney General has got no clue about that. We wish him well.
Exactly. Well, you know, when you're preaching, you do get a reaction. Let's put it that way. If you're not presenting the philosophy on a regular basis, you'll get no reaction because you're not doing anything. Action is much better than inaction. And action in Krishna consciousness is the highest service that the living entity, the insignificant living entity, can render. And I wanted to mention just quickly before we go to Ram Raghava, Dr. Ram Raghava actually, that people are completely, I have a friend, Dharma Bhavana, she's a pharmacist. And I was speaking to her this morning, and she tells me, I hate my job. I said, why? She goes, all I do is administer methadone to people and other heavy sedatives so that people can live some sort of a normal life because they're going crazy. What is the biggest industry in the world, everyone? I just saw a video of this Hare Krishna. It's circulating on Facebook. He's telling everybody, go get the COVID shot. Go get it. Anybody that doesn't, force them. That's what he says. I'd like to say to him, do you know what is the biggest industry in the world these days, Prabhu? It's the pharmaceutical industry. And are they interested in the well-being of people? No. They're only interested in one thing, money. That is the reality of this thing. Business, corporations, they push for money and they'll do it at any expense, even if it's at the expense of the death of innocent citizens and civilians. And Dr. Ram Raghava knows that. Maybe you could comment for us, Ram Raghava, in southern United States.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
As usual, Eunice and I are in the kitchen, but our obeisances to everyone.
You're thin, though. You're very thin. You don't eat much, but you cook for others. Congratulations. Prabhu, please, sorry.
We're invited to go over for Prasadam and Kirtan later this afternoon, so that's why we're getting ready for that.
Okay.
But it's hard to say anything after such a wonderful, thorough discussion, but just from my experience, I'd like to add, in my line of work, I do see a lot of people who are on so many medications, but it's so hard because we've been conditioned to think that you have to have a medicine for this, you have to have a medicine for that. And it reminds me of one time when George Harrison said that the problem with our, what's the word that they use, a paradigm, the paradigm for the modern society, the problem with our paradigm is that we're so busy trying to cure disease, but we don't spend enough time on preventing disease. You know, good health, good eating habits, good sleeping habits. I see when I go to work in the morning, I see many people in their car or truck drink a whole big soda or tea or whatever. Those things are so detrimental to our health. And also the thing about sleep, I've realized, although because of my schedule, I haven't been able to fully put it, but one of the most important things of getting up early in the morning, because you were mentioning that they accuse us of sleep deprivation, to become serious about spiritual life, not only getting up in the morning, but taking rest on time. That's a very important point, because people, you know, due to whatever reason, we end up staying up late, and then one thing after another. So an important point of spiritual life is to take rest. When we were in Vrindavan in 1977, when I first met Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, the whole temple, we used to take rest. We would take a very light prasadam like hot milk and 1 or 2 bananas at 7 o'clock. And then we were taking rest by 8:30, at the latest 9 o'clock. And then we would get 3:30. So that's very important in our, not only in our spiritual life, but also material life too. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ram Raghava, Prabhupada disciple. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to have Rupa Manjari speak, but unfortunately, we've reached the end of our program. It's 11:32 a.m. here in Eastern Canada. And I wanted to remind everybody, we'll be back again tomorrow morning for Srimad Bhagavatam class at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please share this class and its opportunity to hear the philosophy of Krishna consciousness from Srila Prabhupada and his disciples in an unadulterated, unchanged manner. And we look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach Yaśodā Prabhu at, you give him your email address, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu?
It's Yasoda1008 at yahoo.com. YASODA1008 at yahoo.com.
Yeah, and you can also get a hold of Vinkat Bhatta, who is our production chief, and try to reach him. You can reach me at, I have many different emails, but the one that most people use is BobbyHebert at gmail.com. BOBBYHEBERT at gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of us or reach out to any of our membership, please do feel free to do that. We are here to help you. And if anybody is interested in putting on a program in their particular area of the world, they want to help with a poster or organization, please contact me and we'll put our media team into play and help you in any way we can to expand your preaching work in your particular area, Prabhupada Desha, your particular area of the world where you reside. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Prabhupada Disciples Association, and all glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Vijay Pandit Prabhu, Komeva, Komeva.